The goal for Nevada Housing Division is to create more homeownership, and with our program, that's one of the what's meeting its goal with that. A lot of folks don't know that that we exist, and that's what makes it a little more challenging. And they think it's out of reach, or they wonder, what's the catch, and things like that. So it makes it to me something that we're happy to be able to help, and we're happy to be here for our public or for home buyers as well.
Hello and welcome to Vegas for Veterans, where we talk all things buying, selling, and investing in Las Vegas. And when we talk about investing, we're not just talking about real estate, but the Las Vegas community at scale. I'm your host, Kayvon Jones, civilian patriot, real estate investment advisor, and we have a special guest here for you today, Josie Haddam. Now, what really makes today so special is that she's actually been a part of my real estate journey since I started in about 2018. She's been educating for even longer than that regarding helping families reach their goal of home ownership. Welcome, Josie Haddam, to the show today. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, Kayvon. Thank you very much for having me today.
Absolutely. Very excited to have you today. So if you want to just kind of first, before we get into the questions and kind of what they're here for, just tell them a little bit more about yourself and your role with the housing division.
Perfect. So yes, I've been with the Nevada Housing Division since 2014, and that's when the Home is Possible program kicked off. And I am the home buyer program specialist. So pretty much my role is to bring awareness to the Home is Possible down payment assistance programs. And that is through home buyer education, CE real estate classes, and lender trainings. And of course, also we interact a lot directly with our participating lenders.
No, absolutely. That is phenomenal. And I, again, appreciate everything that you do. I remember meeting you way back then at Key Realty and really just learning about what the Nevada Housing Division has for families and individuals looking to purchase here. Such a phenomenal opportunity.
Absolutely, yes. It's a great program. It's we're determined, Nevada Housing Division, to create more homeowners, and then of course to help within with our program. That's one of the what's meeting its goal with that.
No, absolutely. So great. So now, when you look at home ownership in Nevada right now, what are you seeing for everyday working families who may feel home buying is out of reach?
Well, basically, the best bet is that we currently have exactly why Nevada Housing Division created the Home is Possible program, specifically for those folks who are able to make a monthly payment and have issues putting money together. It becomes a challenge, or sometimes they've put that money together and they want to keep that aside. So this is where our down payment assistance comes in to help home buyers like that.
No, absolutely. That's phenomenal. And now, so for listeners who may have not heard about the name Home is Possible and may not know about the details, what exactly is Home is Possible and what potential gaps is it help filling?
So basically, it's a down payment assistance program. And for that is for those people who are able now to make a monthly payment, who are currently renting perhaps, and they want to reach that goal of home ownership. So the down payment assistance is actually going to come in and help them get into that home. It's that step that they need to get into the home. And the best thing is that these funds, there's no interest, no payments on the funds that they receive. But I know we'll touch on that a little bit here further on. But basically, the intention of knowing that we're here to help. We are a state agency, and the down payment assistance is something that's going to be able to help them get into homes if that is their goal of home ownership.
No, absolutely. And yeah, that's oftentimes a barrier, right? Really
Yes.
just getting started. And even, for some individuals who kind of are thinking about home ownership, whether they're using a 3% conventional or FHA loan, which is a low down payment. But when you think about the price of housing now, that still can be $7,000, $10,000, $15,000 plus the closing cost burden. So being able to have some help and support in that area is absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, it is. And that's exactly what we're here for, exactly for the down payment assistance. And a lot of folks don't know that, that we exist, and that's what makes it a little more challenging. And they think it's out of reach, or they wonder, what's the catch, and things like that. So it makes it to me something that we're happy to be able to help, and we're happy to be here for our public or for home buyers as well.
No, absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. So now I know there are several different pathways for Home is Possible. Can you walk us through the main programs in simple terms and who each one is really designed to help?
Okay. First of all, sure, we'll go ahead and start with our standard first-time buyer program, because we currently have 4 programs. And just like you said, with our down payment assistance, one of the biggest things is that you do not have to be a first-time buyer for our programs. We do have programs for folks who are not a first-time buyer. So we'll start out with our first-time buyer program, which is just as it says. It is a down payment assistance for first-time buyers. In order to be considered a first-time buyer, it would mean that you have not owned a home in the past 3 years. So if you fall within that, and there are income limits on that, so that's based off a county. So depending on what county you live in, for example, here in Clark County, for a family of 3, they can go up to $117,000 for the first-time buyer program, and that is household income. So these folks get either 3 or 4. I'm sorry, they get the 2 or 4% in down payment assistance. So that's 2 or 4% of the loan amount that they get in assistance. And this is how they'd be able to get into a home. That's actually valid for any home type except for duplex or fourplex. So if they want a new build, if they want a condo, townhome, or a single family resident manufactured home, they're able to use the first time buyer program, except it would not allow for multi-units. And that is the basic guidelines. And imagine for up to $117,000 for a household for a first-time buyer, that's still a lot of folks out there who can qualify for the program.
No, absolutely. And you said 2 things I wanted to kind of key in on there. And it was something I was thinking about before we started here. And it's great that you touched on that now. So they could even utilize this program if they wanted a brand new home. So,
absolutely.
Okay, so a lot of the times I know the builder has their own lenders. Mm-hmm. However, some of those lenders are approved with Home is Possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of them. We have over 100 approved lenders in the state of Nevada, and many of those are working with the builders.
Okay. Got it. And then I know you also mentioned multifamily homes there. Okay.
Yes.
So now when you're talking about multifamily homes, I know there's a couple of nuanced definitions there. So are you saying that they cannot utilize the home for like a duplex or things of that nature? Or
yes, for the first-time buyer program, duplex and fourplex are not allowed, but we do have other programs where they'd be able to use for a multi-home, which is a duplex or fourplex. Now, because a condo and a townhome, they're able to use those with the first-time buyer program. So that's absolutely fine. And the best thing is that they can purchase a home throughout the entire state of Nevada. We have no limitations. So it's not to a specific area. It's just you have to make sure that it's a home that's within your income limit, of course, and your purchase price. So the lender determines all that.
All right, so now something else we wanted to mention was regarding showing the importance of how many families that the program has actually really been able to serve. So what does that impact look like, and what does those numbers mean in real life terms?
So we got to picture this, the state of Nevada. And since 2014, we've helped over 31,000 families. So you imagine that might have been, families that may have not otherwise gotten into a home. Many of them, as a matter of fact, with the families within them, actually, they've been about 1,200 teachers and 1,800 veterans within that. So, and when you think 3,100, that's a lot of people in homes now that have used the program. And the best thing when you think about this is many of those people, I want to say a little bit over half of those people who use the program already had their own funds. But they decided, I'm going to put my funds aside. I'm going to take advantage of the program because it took me so long to put these funds together, and I'm just going to save these to the side. So it's an opportunity for everyone. It does. If you already have money saved, great. You want to take advantage of the program, absolutely fine.
No, absolutely, because one of the barriers to home ownership is worrying about what happens if there's the AC breaks, or what happens if something happens to the roof. Well, if you already have those down payment covered, and you're able to keep those funds. Now you can utilize those funds as emergency funds for those major type of issues there.
Absolutely. And the best thing too with along that lines is this is why there's home buyer education, because that kind of teaches them maybe there's other sources out there like, home warranties and what have you that would help them with that as well. So those are a lot of great things that we actually make sure that all of our home buyer education is required for the very same reason. We not only do we want to prepare them for the purchase of their home, but what happens after as well.
Absolutely. No, great information there for sure. So now, from your perspective, what does home ownership change in a person's or family's life beyond just having a place to live?
Without beyond having a place to live. So with the money that you're making, the payments that people are making, monthly payments, right? Currently, we can be renting and making a monthly payment. And just like they say, the money is pretty much disappearing. Mm-hmm. However, when you have your own home and you're starting to make payments, you're paying into your home. And so you're paying down this mortgage and then you're building this equity. So it's pretty much just coming back to you eventually, the great portion of that. And you're paying it down, there's more equity, and later on you have that money all available to you. Opposed to when we rent, it just really disappears. And so that is a great thing for folks who have family. They leave that home behind, to your loved ones. The best thing of knowing is that you're going to be able to leave something to someone. And I speak by experience, with that. Is, you purchase your home and then you have it and okay, now this is what my children are going to get. They could sell it, do whatever they want, but they're going to be left with something and hopefully they'll purchase their own home someday with it, or the funds can be used for that. But the creating, the home ownership, it's a big deal for many folks, and that's what their goal is. That was my goal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really a source of being able to create that generational wealth. My parents weren't able to purchase a home and kind of be able to keep it to be able to kind of leave to me. But I'd imagine just, the home that we had. I'm originally from Los Angeles, and we had a home there. And, one of the things people always say is like, oh, back then homes are expensive. And it's like 30 years later, they're still saying homes are expensive in California. So it's like, well, it continues to get more and more expensive. And one of the things of home ownership and advantage is literally you're taking that mortgage payment or that cost of home ownership, and you're really putting that into a time capsule of saying, hey, well, this is what the prices are in this particular year. And I'm grandfathered in to that for the remainder of when it's paid off. And that's something that's really powerful.
Exactly, because once you commit to a mortgage payment, your payment's going to stay right there compared to once you're renting. You don't know what's going to happen because especially in the state of Nevada, that can go up at any time. And so now you're secure. And also, when you're a homeowner opposed to when you're renting, not that there's anything bad about renting, sometimes it works best for people. But if you were to come to a place where most people have heard through home buyer classes, what if I'm left without a job? What if something happens? Your mortgage company is going to work with you. They're very likely to work with you for the better part. And unfortunately, with landlords, they may not have the ability to do that as much as they'd like to. So that's kind of something also to keep in mind, which gives a lot of people peace of mind when they're jumping into to purchase a home.
No, absolutely. That is an amazing thing to cover there, right? Because that's one of the things that I preach as well regarding home ownership, because what happens, especially in this environment where interest rates are higher and Southern Nevada is so transient and people don't know if they're coming and going and things, and they're not sure whether they want to purchase a home, but there's so many advantages. And if you look at, okay, I'm paying $1,500 or even $2,000 a month for the average rent, and you times that by 5 years, looking at what you paid in 60 months, and it went completely nowhere. It's like, well, yeah, that mortgage payment for the time being may be a little bit more expensive than just renting. But as you just said there, the money is going back into paying down the principal of the home, even though it's not all of it, right? But a portion of that is going towards that. And eventually it will be paid off. So you're seeing yourself make progress versus in renting, you don't have that same type of progress.
Exactly. Yes.
Absolutely. So no, that's some phenomenal things there. So kind of talking about that, is there any type of story or example that kind of really captures the kind of differences that these home is possible programs are able to make for individuals and families?
A lot of families have said that it's something when you purchasing a home, you're using down payment assistance program, your family doesn't necessarily know. They just know that you got into a home and you didn't have to take money from anyone. It's a feel of accomplishment. You purchased a home, you got in there, you got the assistance. No one knows you didn't ask anybody for money, and you went about your way. And I think a lot of folks enjoy the fact that they're able to do that. They got their children in a home, and many times when we don't have the down payment assistance, if we don't want to ask, we have to ask a family member, or we have to try to get a loan, and to know that these funds there's no interest, no payments on it. I think it's a big relief for them. But a lot of folks who just really feel the pride of homeownership and being able to do it, and thinking that they wouldn't be able to, just that they sit down and finally they're in their home within a few months without thinking it would ever happen.
So now with that, what are some of the most, I guess, biggest misconceptions that people have about down payment assistance or home buyer support programs, and how has your team worked to really build awareness around them?
So basically, the biggest misconception is that you have to be a first-time buyer to get assistance from these programs, and you don't have to be a first-time buyer. Also, that it's limited to certain areas. Although we've had programs in the past that did limit certain areas because that was just the requirement from the funds where they came from. Home is possible as a whole. You're able to purchase throughout the entire state of Nevada, and of course. Another one of which folks are usually, concerned is, what's the catch? What am I doing here? And basically, it's just, funds helping you to get in there. And whether you want to pull from your own funds or take advantage of the funds and invest your own funds somewhere else until, then it's up to them. And I think they feel some sense of relief when you talk to them, and basically how we reach out to them is to home buyer education classes, or we have the CE classes that real estate professionals attend, and we make sure we bring awareness to them to pass on to their home buyers, because the home buyers are really close to the real estate professionals, and it just makes them feel better. But that is pretty much how we reach out, making sure that folks are available. And through the home buyer education classes and education for real estate professionals, as well as once in a while we have podcasts like this that are able to spread the news, and we're able to bring awareness that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely want to build awareness around it, because I know you mentioned earlier, but we don't want to kind of gloss over it too much, because you said it there as well, as that there's multiple programs, right?
Yes.
So you have the, how many programs do you have exactly?
We have 4 programs. So we have the first-time buyer program. We have the Home is Possible for teachers. We have a HIP DPA program, which is for people who are not first-time buyers. And that's actually also for people who own a home outside of the state. They can keep that home and take advantage of that program. And of course, the teachers program is strictly for full-time teachers from kindergarten to 12th grade in a public school or public charter school. And then we have the new one that's a worker advantage program. That is actually, came out from the AB 540 bill. And that is $20,000 in down payment assistance, which is, of course, non-forgivable funds, but that can be used towards down payment and closing cost. And for that, they can use that to buy down the rate. So that's a little bit different. Although that's for the categories which were selected for this was for construction, education, medical, and first responders. Mm-hmm. So people within those groups are the ones who are able to take advantage of the program. And you have to think that's something basically what would happen if we lose all of them at once. We're trying to keep them here in the state of Nevada. And it's actually for the advantage of the program is it also allows a little bit of higher of income, opposed to the first-time buyer program, which goes up to $117,000 for a family of 3. For the worker advantage here in Clark County, it goes up to $142,000 for just a family period. So it allows more people to be able to qualify for the program. And although that one's only for 900 families, we're a little bit over halfway through that, but it started December 1st. So we're hoping to continue to keep that momentum and It should be, probably be gone here within the next few months, but that's going to be 450 more families that'll get into the home. So far we have about 450. We have 450 more to go.
Absolutely. So, yeah, if you are in that, in those industries, that's a wonderful, wonderful, phenomenal option and program there. And I've actually helped family utilize that program for purchase. And, one of the things when we were talking about misconceptions here is that sometimes individuals are like, well, it's unforgivable and this and that. And it's like, well, that family, and I know that I help personally, they don't plan on moving anyway, right? So if they ever did sell the property or if they had to move and they had to refund that money, I'd imagine once that time comes in 10, 20 years, when ultimately if they had to make that decision, hopefully they're in a position where they're selling the home because they have a significant amount of equity, and that $20,000 won't matter because you might have $100,000 in equity that you're receiving on that selling the home there.
Yeah, a great way to put it. That $20,000 made you $100,000, right?
Exactly.
And a lot of times people are like, well, I don't want to pay it back. And so what do we do if we don't pay it back? And if we want to get into a home, then we start saving our funds. But how long would that take? And what's going to happen? Let's say you started saving 2-3 years ago. What's happened so far with the prices of the home? Yeah, they trickle up and down, but for the better part, they're climbing up, right? And so that's one of the things to think about. Something that's going to help you right now. And if you do have your funds, then you could still put those funds aside and use those right now. And it's going to be until it makes sense, because it's there's no interest and no payments on it, but it's only due if they move out of the home, they sell, or they refinance. That's when the funds are due back. And at that point, it's because they've probably built $100,000 or however much equity that they've built. But the great thing also is it's something that's there to get them to that home that they see right now. And they feel, I don't have the money saved and I need to get into it now. And that's exactly what it's for.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you're really looking at the programs and you're thinking about the incomes and you're thinking about the different nuances of actually qualifying for the program, it's literally really designed to help working families, right? And we're just working individuals, whether you have a full family or not, but it's really designed to give that leg up. And, one of the things that I always talk about within a lot of my policy and things is that working class, there's not a whole lot of things sometimes for working class Americans. And this program is a testament that there are opportunities and programs out there to help working Americans get a leg up with the American dream. So it is really a phenomenal program and opportunity for individuals to utilize. Absolutely.
Yes, it sure is. And it's great to be able to have something here for our Nevadans. And if you just came out, some of the programs, they don't require any minimum residency except for the Worker Advantage program. But folks, they can come in and take advantage. And if a lot of people came from out of state, and if they out of the state and they left a home behind, they can keep that home, and as long as this becomes their primary residence. So that is some of the requirements. It has to be their primary residence. And other than that, like for first-time buyers, are not allowed to own another home. Only that HIP DPA program that I mentioned out of the 4 programs, that's the only one that allows for that.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you have a lot of different awareness and things that you mentioned earlier where there's a lot of information on getting the details here regarding the programs, right? So today we're just kind of talking in a broad sense of what's available. We may, talk more and host different webinars and workshops that goes more in depth to all of the programs. But the main thing, and what Josie mentioned earlier, is that many individuals do not know this is an option. So we want to be able to build the awareness, right? We want to build the awareness first, and then with that information, be able to provide the details around it, because obviously that's important, but if you don't know it exists in the first place, just giving you so much information at once isn't going to be helpful, right? So we definitely want to build that intrigue and knowing that this is just one option for you. And right. it's encouraging, right? Because you may go and you may do the home buyer education, which I believe is like a full day workshop where you learn about so many different options, and you're really educating yourself. And maybe this program doesn't fit for you for one reason or another. Maybe there's another program, or maybe you decide and realize, well, hey, I don't want to use a program at all. But what you just did was you exhausted all your possibilities and you educated yourself, knowing what's out there. And now you can make an informed decision instead of just saying, well, I can't afford to buy a home, or
Right.
I'm just going to wait, and all those things there.
Yes, absolutely. And there are workshops. Anybody who's HUD approved, which are a lot of agencies out there, they do have full day workshops. And also, we do have our own classes, which would just pertain to our program. But they're able to use that, and it's only like that one can go for about an hour and a half for our classes. But there are HUD approved agencies which will accept the certificates for. But along with that, with our program, the best thing is that this is why we educate people for the same reason, because not everybody's aware of it. And just like you said, our program doesn't work for everyone. And that's absolutely true. And that's why we use actual lenders. Now, if they have access to our program, it's very likely that they have access to other programs throughout the state. And with that said, and if you find that none of the programs work for you and you want to do your own thing, then you're already working with a great lender who was offering those programs to you, and maybe they have some of their programs of their own. So it is a matter of just getting in front of one of the participating lenders to determine their eligibility, because they'll have other options as well.
No, absolutely. That's phenomenal. Okay. So now, for someone listening today who may be wondering whether home ownership is even possible for them, what are the best first steps to learn more and see if they even qualify for a program like this?
Well, basically, the first step is always to get in front of a lender, because the participating lender is going to determine their eligibility, is going to determine which program works for them, and is going to kind of give them an idea of how much home they can afford. Because ultimately, it's based on your income, and based on your income is going to determine what home you can qualify for. And not just your income, because if you have debt to income, they get into that a little bit. They try to see how much money you still have available and how much you can, how much you're able to qualify for. But they're your first step. A lot of times, folks are, they're hesitant and they're thinking about it. To me, like what I've seen that has worked for many people is when they go sit right in front of the lender, and the lender kind of lays it out. And then once they know and once they have an idea, they can make a choice. Because a lot of times we can just be guessing. We don't know where we stand, and we think we might, and you'd be surprised how many people didn't think they were ready, and they start home searching because they find out they're right there. There's funds there, there's programs there, and it kind of just gets moving pretty quick. But that is always the best bet. Many folks, we come from a background where, we're worried about our credit. That's a big thing. Mm-hmm. And go to the lender, because the lenders sometimes they're able to, many of them have a system where they'll be able to tell you, hey, don't pay for that, pay for this. And, we can help you get over this burden. And they might tell you what you need to do and get you ready within a few months to what you can do. I did that. I sat down and I wasn't, I didn't know what to expect. And they told me, step B, step A, and don't do that, stop paying that. And, I was in, and that's how it works out. And many folks, we don't want to approach them, but I think it's the best bet always to start with when you're participating lenders and to determine your eligibility, because they'll look at everything and they'll be upfront with you. They're there to help. The lenders are there to help. And so if it doesn't work now, they'll tell you, just do these steps, and when it'll get you in there, because that's what they're in the business for, right? As well as real estate professionals.
Yeah. And, and that's something I always encourage as well, because a lot of times if you are credit deficient or you feel like you're not in a position to buy yet, you want to go at it alone and just kind of do all your own individual workshop instead of reaching out to the professionals who can help you get in position, because if you go get your income tax or you get a lump sum and now you guess on what you need to pay off or what you need to do, and now those funds are gone, and they could have really actually helped you structure what you could do to be able to maximize that potential of buying a home.
Absolutely, because when you're purchasing a home, when you're looking at your credit, it's very different than when you're purchasing a car or you're applying for a credit card. There are things there that you might think, I have to get this off. Sometimes those things are not even looked at. And sometimes, but the lender's going to be able to explain exactly what those are without you touching everything. You might go pay something and it's going to be a sleeping giant that wakes up that's been long gone and you brought it back. It's very different when you're purchasing a home.
No, absolutely. And then now, so when they're working with lenders and even real estate professionals, is there an approved list or a recommended list where they can actually learn who may be eligible or knowledgeable to help them with this process?
Yes. So on our we have our website on the homeispossiblenv.org website. On there, there's a home buyer section, and it's a drop down box. And on that drop down box, it says find a HIP lender. It's about halfway down. There you will be able to find the list of participating lenders who are approved for the program. Maybe you're already working with someone and you'll find that their company is listed on there. And as I said, there's over 100. There's also a section to find a HIP agent. And all our real estate professionals are listed there as well. And so there you can start working with them. Now, for the real estate professionals, they don't necessarily have to be posted there. Those are real estate professionals who work with our program. But if you have someone that you're already working with as a real estate professional, that's absolutely fine. You can work with them. The one that we need is our participating lenders who are approved to do the program and who have access to the funds.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's the most important thing there. And now, so if they are interested in learning more about the details, I know there's third parties who have different workshops and things. Is there any listings that they can find online regarding any type of educational seminars or workshops that you all may offer?
So absolutely. It's on the same website. So there's a home buyer tab, and then you'll see an events tab. On that events tab is where you're going to find all the listed home buyer classes that are upcoming. Sign up for one, join them. It's free. You have online options. You have in-person options. So that is where you're going to learn a little bit more about the program. And then also you'll be able to find out what the steps to home ownership and what's expected during the home buying process.
No, that is phenomenal. So, anything else do you feel like they need to know regarding home as possible and really being able to kind of take that first step towards purchasing a home if they're curious in doing so?
Yes, well, and the best thing is if you're curious, that means you're wanting to do it. Sit with the lender, sit with one of the participating lenders, talk to them. They'll determine your eligibility. You'll be a lot closer than you think, and if not. And if not, with the lenders, maybe your real estate professional can walk you to them if you're already working with somebody. But that is the first step. Ultimately, there's a lot of folks out there who didn't think they'd be able to, or who've been waiting for a long time. But then when they start realizing where their money's going, where it can be going, it kind of just gives them a little push to say, okay, I'm ready to do this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Josie. We greatly appreciate all the wonderful work that you do. Thank everyone for watching. As always, life is a marathon, and prepare to compete. We are out. Peace.